Good morning. It is Sunday, March 14th, 2021, around 10:35 a.m. I did have something to do today that had a timeline or a deadline that came due, but it's come to my attention that there is something else that also has a timeline that is not a standard timeline. So I'm going to address that instead. And first, I'm going to say that in 27 days from today will be April 10th of 2021. I personally have had experience with the relevance of the implication of a 27-day time period since the fall of 2019. And since that time, I've been following it. And one of the things I came to learn is that for the National Credit Union Administration's anti money laundering elements of its standardized systems and its standards regarding the NCUA. The AML elements come under Chapter 27 or under Section 27. And I am concerned, and have been for a while, that this is a specific form of indication of an ongoing process. The truth of the matter is, this process may go back even further than the history of the United States and may be international in its scope. So I understand that attempting to address it as such, and perhaps even confront it, is a very significant matter. But I also think it is a very specific matter that attempts to do things that challenge people's faith and subject them to acts of religious persecution as a means to try to compel people to cooperate with a specific systematology that is allowed to be disproportionately acknowledged when it comes to international financial manners that may violate people's faith, traditions, and preferences and may not even be necessary, regardless of all else. So, the first thing I want to do is I want to acknowledge the Texas Constitution. Section 4 of the Bill of Rights of the Texas Constitution, religious test. No religious test shall ever be required as a qualification to any office or public trust in this state, nor shall anyone be excluded from holding office on account of his religious sentiments, provided he acknowledge the existence of a supreme being. It is also important that Section 29 be acknowledged. Bill of Rights, accepted from powers of government and inviolate. To guard against transgressions of the high powers herein delegated, we declare that everything in this Bill of Rights is accepted out of the general powers of government and shall forever remain inviolate, and all laws contrary thereto or to the following provisions shall be void. This is from Section 29 of the Bill of Rights of the Constitution of the Texas Constitution, which on the formal site is acknowledged as the Texas Constitution. Now, that should be enough, even for one who might have a respect for or even an adversity against a particular kind of faith calling or faith tradition. That should be enough to prevent against attempting to simulate, derivate, or compel performance in or as a specific tendency or understanding of religious practice when it comes to attempting to uphold the Constitution or engaging in civil society or ordinary political process. My experience in Texas, specifically since I returned to Texas in November 2016, is that those specific elements of the Texas Constitution, but especially Section 4, have been systematically violated and as a matter of fact have been profaned themselves in a form of ritual persecution that is disproportionate to whatever other value it could have. And so I'm going to make this video right now, and then I'm going to stop before I go on to the next section. Because the truth of the matter is that when it comes to addressing anybody who has a grievance or who has a concern about their livelihood in the state of Texas under the Constitution, whatever your faith calling is, that's the only standard that needs to be considered. Unless, of course, we're talking specifically about being targeted and persecuted for your religious preferences. But when it comes to qualifying and when it comes to being acknowledged for your constitutional rights, that's really the only thing that needs to be said. Nobody has a right to compel anybody to demonstrate or prove how authentic they may be in somebody else's projection of an understanding of particular faith praxis.